LeBron James is one of, if not the greatest player in NBA history, and he has defined longevity. Yesterday was his birthday, and he has now hit the age of 40 years old, still producing at a very high level, especially relative to his age, when most guys are either out of the league entirely or producing very little. LeBron has gone above and beyond. But ever since 2019, LeBron James has been a Los Angeles Laker. And he has had plenty of time there to have great moments. And he has had some, but most of those come individually, like his scoring record, compared to the biggest prize in basketball, which is, of course, winning the NBA Finals, the proper team success. And LeBron won one ring back in 2020 with the Lakers. But other than that, in terms of competing at the highest level, through not just the faults of his own, but the organization around him, LeBron's tenure in Los Angeles as a whole has been disappointing. Welcome back to State of the Association. I'm your host, Nash Roberts, and this is the disappointing tenure of LeBron James as a Los Angeles Laker. When he joined the Los Angeles Lakers in 2020, LeBron James comes in with sky-high expectations, playing some of the best basketball of his career, despite being in his 30s already. He had just come off of one of the best individual seasons ever with the 2018 Cleveland Cavaliers, where he led a team that had no business being in the finals and that had a lot of roster turnover at that trade deadline to the finals, and had an elite playoff run and was one of the top MVP candidates. Arguably should have won it. He was second, and coming to Los Angeles, he had played 82 games the year prior and had been a model of consistency and durability. In spite of his age, he had really not dealt with many injuries and had been a very, very safe player to build around, and one that you were sure you could build a contender out of. And those are two things to very much keep in mind as we go into a stint with the Lakers. Because in year one, this is the first time we see LeBron really be derailed by injuries. Because up to this point, he has his lowest number of games played ever with 55. And this was a year after he played every single game the year prior. 82 in the regular season and a great playoff run. Nope, played 55 this time. And it's the first time that we see LeBron be kind of slowed down a little bit by his body. Because that's how Father Time gets to players ultimately. It's not through a lack or decline in talent, but in how their body holds up. And in LeBron's first year in Los Angeles, we already start to see that. And looking at the team around him, there are some guys who would go on to be very NBA players, but they had not developed that. Had Lonzo Ball, we had Brandon Ingram, Kyle Kuzma. There's talent on this team, Alex Caruso, to be sure. But you add in LeBron James, and you expect to win now. And the way that this roster was set up, that wasn't the case. And LeBron, he goes and he gets injured. It's the first really sign we see of him slowing down, and they finished 10th in the West. The year after that, they shake up the league, and they go and they get Anthony Davis for that package of Brandon Ingram and Lonzo Ball and all other assets. And Anthony Davis instantly alters the makeup of this team. And they win the championship that year, led by that duo of LeBron and AD. And at this point, there's conversations about if Anthony Davis is the best player that LeBron has ever played alongside. And this is someone who played alongside Dwayne Wade in his prime. So that's a really big honor for Anthony Davis. And it looks like this duo is going to keep Los Angeles in contention for years to come. The year after that, they go out and they arguably improve their roster in an effort to really look at a team that can perhaps repeat and build the team in a way to where that's really an achievable goal. They go out and they get both Dennis Schroeder and Montrezl Harrell, the two guys who had been the finalists for the Sixth Man of the Year trophy last year. And they're expected to come to this team and make an instant impact where the team needs them to. And this team is widely expected to repeat, especially with these additions of Dennis Schroeder and Montrezl Harrell. And Schroeder, notably, is a very good pickup, at least on paper for them, because he shores up that point guard spot and he doesn't take away too many touches from AD or LeBron. Because Schroeder can be a very solid point guard, but you also don't need the ball in his hands all the time. So to have him play alongside AD and LeBron and be like the third option on this team, that was like a really good pickup. And also for what he can do on the defensive end, in spite of the 6'1" size, being one of the best perimeter defenders in the NBA, one of the more underrated ones at that point guard position, that's huge. But this year is really marked by injuries for LeBron and Anthony Davis. They both missed significant time. LeBron now plays 45 games this season, and the Lakers, despite having a very talented roster on paper, they end up being the 7th seed. And going into the playoffs, LeBron has never been a first-round exit in his NBA career. And despite being the 7th seed, this team is expected to, at bare minimum, because of the experience, make it a close series against the Phoenix Suns. But they go out in the first round, the first time that LeBron has ever lost in the first round. And after that, they blow up the roster. Schroeder's gone, most notably, and they replace him with Russell Westbrook, who on paper is a star player. And on paper, you can argue that you have a big three there in the stars of Anthony Davis, LeBron James, and Russell Westbrook. But from day one, there are very much question marks about Russell Westbrook's fit with the team, because there's really no spacing with this core and a lot of on-ball responsibility, especially alongside LeBron and Russell Westbrook. LeBron, at this point in his career, he has evolved to at times be a solid shooter, although he can be streaky season in, season out. One season he might have a solid percentage, and the other he's thrown up bricks. And Anthony Davis at this point has kind of declined as a shooter, and he was never super impactful, but he was a solid floor spacer, especially on that playoff run where they won the title. But he has declined at this point. And Russell Westbrook at that point guard position, where perhaps with the ball in your hands at the perimeter the most, it's uber important to have a good three-point shot, especially in the modern NBA. He's not that. So the spacing on this team is really bad, and the best shooter is an aging Carmelo Anthony, who, credit to him, has a good season in Los Angeles. But the team finishes 11th in the Western Conference, and LeBron again deals with injuries, playing 56 games this year. And he gets a lot of reps at the center position, which is a notable point to make, because it was really to fit right with the team, the way that it was constructed, he almost had to play that center position. Whether it was AD's injuries or Russell Westbrook taking on-ball duties, when at this point in his career, he's really not capable of having a high usage as he had. LeBron is forced to play more of that center position, and he produces well, but his impact at this point, he can't carry a team that has a poorly constructed roster. And that's just what this LA team is. And they were first-round exits last year. They don't even make the playoffs this year. And LeBron has now missed the playoffs twice in 4 years with Los Angeles. Year one, you can argue it's because of injuries and the young players around him. Year two, they win the championship. Year three, their first-round exit. In year four, they missed the playoffs once again. In year five, the 2022-23 season, they are expected to rebound a little bit, because they've got a new coach who's going to do what he can to fit Russell Westbrook more into the scheme of the offense, to allow LeBron to play more comfortably and not let the pretty much negative floor spacing be as detrimental to this team as it was in the past. So Russell Westbrook finds a new role as the sixth man of this team. But the results still aren't there for Los Angeles. They're still kind of having a middling record. And at the trade deadline, they make a big acquisition to change up that point guard position, and that is with D'Angelo Russell. They get some other good assets here as well, but D'Lo is expected to be the guy that can be a better fit with this team at that point guard spot than Russell Westbrook was. Because he's a good shooter, he can be a combo guard, play the two, play a little bit more off ball if he needs to. He thrives more on ball, but it does allow not as much as Russell Westbrook, so it allows LeBron to be more comfortable on ball and have more opportunities with the ball in his hands. And the Lakers, they go on to make the Western Conference Finals. A major midseason turnaround, especially with the acquisition of D'Lo. He looks like a good fit for this team. And things look on the up with that Western Conference Finals run. They do lose in a sweep to Denver, but it's a very close sweep, game by game. There's not a lot separating these two teams. So now there's optimism in the air once again for this Lakers team, and they run it back the year after. LeBron has his healthiest season as a Laker to this point, playing 71 games. Also worth noting in that 2022-23 season, another reason there's optimism in the air is that we can appreciate the greatness of LeBron. Because as bad as this stint has been at times for team success, the individual production has always been there from LeBron, and he goes out and he breaks the all-time scoring record. So that's definitely notable for the Lakers. And they also go on and have the team success this year, making the Western Conference Finals. And that is one of LeBron's most successful years. Probably second most successful year in Los Angeles, just second to that championship team, of course. And they run it back the year after with D'Lo at the point guard. And LeBron has his healthiest season yet as a Laker, 71 games. But this team does not perform up to how they did the year prior. They finished 8th in the conference, and they have the 6th highest scoring offense in the league, but their defense is 23rd. So they're having a solid offensive year, but they are allowing a lot of points back. And the offense in itself is kind of volatile because while they're 6th in scoring, they're 15th in offensive rating. So perhaps it's not as good as it looks. And so this team that has just made the Western Conference Finals, they have a disappointing season once again. And they lose in the first round once again. LeBron's second ever first round exit, both of them coming with the Lakers, once again to the Denver Nuggets in a 5-game series. And once again, it's close in terms of a game-by-game basis. But in the playoffs the last 2 years, the Denver Nuggets have an 8-1 record against the Lakers. So regardless of how these wins are coming about, the Nuggets definitively have the upper hand, and they're led by a generational kind of player in Nikola Jokic, and the Lakers just can't compete with that. At the end of the day, winning the playoff series is what matters, not the moral victories of how close the game was. And they just cannot get over that hump. And this next year, they decide that Darvin Ham is not the guy for this team, and they bring in one of LeBron's friends in J.J. Redick. And the year starts off very good for Los Angeles, and LeBron's having less of a load put onto him at the start of the year. It looks like Anthony Davis is really finally taking the reins of this team and allowing LeBron to be more comfortable in that number 2 spot, which at this point, with the way that his body has failed him in his stint with Los Angeles, that looks to be a good thing, to allow AD to be the guy moving forward for this team. And LeBron can play second fiddle, and that's really going to help with his durability. But now the Lakers have slowed down, and that D'Angelo Russell, who looked like a good fit at quite a few times with the Lakers, is now gone from the team. He had his worst season yet as a pro. And in return, they get Dorian Finney-Smith and some second-round picks. But that point guard position now, there's a lot of question marks there. Because you have Austin Reeves who can play that, but then who's going to be the 2 guard? So in that backcourt, there's a lot of question marks. And that means LeBron's going to have more on-ball duties, which, as he's shown, Father Time has not affected his talent, but it has affected his body. And LeBron is not capable of carrying a team on his back anymore. His body just can't handle all that stress put onto it. And as a result, still leaning on LeBron, the Lakers have slowed down considerably this NBA season. And it's looking like it's going to be another disappointing season in LeBron's tenure, often disappointing tenure with the Lakers. There's been 1 championship, 2 appearances in the Western Conference Finals, a couple of first-round exits, the only first-round exits LeBron has ever had, in some seasons where they've missed the playoffs entirely. And that has been LeBron's tenure in Los Angeles. From failing to build proper rosters around him, to asking him to do too much for his age, and hurting his durability in the long run. The individual success has been there, and there's been great moments like LeBron having a 30-point-per-game scoring season at the age of 37 years old, or breaking Kareem's scoring record, or winning Finals MVP in that championship run. but the team around LeBron has not been there. And he's at the age most where it really does need to be there. You could get away with it in years past, back when he was on the second stint in Cleveland, having a subpar team around him. LeBron was capable of carrying that, but he can't do it anymore. And the Los Angeles Lakers, so often it seems like they fail to see that. Like they expect LeBron to be the guy that can still carry this team. And he's just not that player anymore. And that's okay. Father time catches up to everyone. But when in year 2, you make a trade for a superstar to pair up with LeBron and you win a championship, the expectations are the limit for one of the greatest players of all time for you to build around him. And it has been organizational failure after organizational failure for the Lakers in the LeBron tenure. And has really led to a disappointing stint in LA for LeBron. And for any other player, you might take a couple playoff appearances, a couple Western Conference Finals appearances, and a championship. But this is a top 2 NBA player of all time. The expectations are higher than they are for anyone else. And the Lakers failed to build around LeBron, whether it was due to bad fits, asking him to do too much. It has been a failure and a disappointing stint in Los Angeles for LeBron James. And he gets to play with the Sun this year, and you can add that to the individual successes of it. But LeBron James Jr., Bronny James, as a prospect, is a very raw player, and he is not going to actively contribute to your team for quite a while. He still needs to go and develop, and he's in the G League right now. So that was really a move to keep LeBron happy. But in terms of actual team success, it doesn't do much. And that's the thing. The Lakers have technically done things. They've had new coaches. They've changed up their roster. Even when you could argue they should have more patience. But it's always one step forward and 2 steps back. And that is the failure and the disappointment of LeBron James' tenure in Los Angeles as a Laker. And that is all for today's episode of State of the Association. Thank you for listening. I'm your host, Nash Roberts.